taking ownership, pride of ownership of that area, and I think they're doing a wonderful job with it.
And that additional capacity is walking through and shopping in the downtown.
That's exactly right.
I look at it a little bit different because of the fact, I don't know how many square feet they got there. A couple hundred square feet they use. And if that was retail space anywhere else, they'd be paying what do we have to, $7 a square foot for something like that part of it? So to give them additional whatever the 1,400 square feet at $1, they're making some really decent money out there. I sit out there, I've enjoyed myself, I enjoyed the river, I enjoyed it. Yes, they are good stewards, I can keep that too, but I think it could be a little bit more than $1 for that. What they read for 10 years, it's going to be a lot of money that they benefit. And I'm hoping that they're, like we talked earlier today about giving back to the community. If I hear a little bit more from them, what they give back, Flat River, where do they reach out to the community to move forward other than benefiting themselves? And if I had a little bit more information, would I be opposed to $1? No, I'd like to hear a little bit more what they do.
So I've done quite a few events in this town, from Lyman Appreciation to Pink Arrow Drive-In. Every time I've gone to them, they just simply say, tell us what you need and it's yours. They don't hesitate. They want to be part of the community. I just think, and they don't never want any recognition for it. That's the other part of it. So I personally have seen the side where they're always giving. So.
I mean, I wish one of them would have showed up tonight.
That's what I was just going to say.
Well,
But it's like a lot of things.
Never-ending loop of
yeah, exactly.
people sending stuff to us and then.
I agree. So.
And the other is, I mean, I just feel like there's not any cost, but it's also, as a taxpayer, it's part of my taxes are going towards that property. And again, I just, as a for-profit company, I just believe that there should be a cost in that. And I just don't, and I have nothing against Flat River Grill. I think it's wonderful. I think that it's wonderful that it's there. I just think that it needs to be more equitable. And I would encourage that you take time to reflect and talk to other citizens and then vote on it. Thank you.
Here comes one or two.
Burl Bartkus, 215 West Main Street. I guess my thoughts on that is I had to pay a $25 event fee for a one-day event on Riverside Drive. So it does seem kind of, and I'm a for-profit business, it does seem sort of unfair. And yes, they do take great care of it, but it is private, or it is city property. And I have noticed as I walk down the street, I'd be happy to have a picnic right there on the street, but it is set up as a restaurant. So just my thoughts. Thanks.
Susan Stevens, 610 North Jefferson. Question and just a fact that for some reason is in my head. Question is, is this referring to the covered portion of their patio or just the freestanding tables out by the river railing?
No, this is the area.
Or all of
This
it?
is the area that's enclosed with the railing.
Enclosed, okay. So that is business square footage. Just as a point of fact, I do know that a month or so ago, Grand Rapids City Council had the same conversation, and they do charge for that extra space that restaurants in the city of Grand Rapids use.
Thank you.
So,
I could just weigh in on that.
Yeah.
It depends on the property that City of Grand Rapids that you're talking about. So this agreement with this entity requires them to maintain it, to insure it and to indemnify the city. So in terms of consideration, it's not just the dollar, but oftentimes, even in places like Grand Rapids, you just have there be some sort of nominal monetary consideration in exchange for other things like insurance and indemnification and maintenance. And then the other part of the consideration is the economic development that it engenders. So for what it's worth, that's the rationale behind using these sort of adjacent right-of-ways for such a low amount. It's very common, just so you know.
All right. Does anybody have either a motion to extend or a motion to table?
I'll float a motion to extend it.
I'll support that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Sue?
And what are we going to ask that comes back at our next meeting to talk, or are we going to ask Mike, or, I mean, just to table it? Eventually, this is going to have to come back. So
Oh, right.
we're tabling it for what reason?
I made a motion to
Yeah, you know,
extend
motion,
it.
what is it? Oh, to approve?
To approve.
Oh, I thought you said it. Oh, extend the contract.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Sorry. Me bad.
Motion and a second to extend the lease. Sue?
Councilmember Yankovic, sorry.
It's right here. I am in favor of it.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Groves,
Yes.
Mayor DeVore,
No.
Councilmember Salzweedl.
No.
Okay, motion carries. Last one, Mike, flood ordinance.
Just lost it. Hang on a second. Okay. Recently, the Federal Emergency Management Agency FEMA has completed new flood insurance rate maps for Kent County and are scheduled to go in effect on February 23rd, 2023. City participates in the National Flood Insurance Program, and our community must adopt the new maps by revising its current floodplain ordinance or adopt a new ordinance by the date listed above. City attorney has prepared a new ordinance. Failure to approve the ordinance as presented risks the city from being able to participate in the flood insurance program, meaning federally backed mortgages for properties in the floodplain would need private insurance, such as like Lloyd's of London, at extremely high rates. In addition, some forms of federal disaster assistance may not be available if we were suspended due to this. I did present ordinance 22-7 for your review and recommending it to be approved as presented.
I have a comment.
Sure.
As someone who owns a building in the floodplain, who hadn't heard of flood insurance until I bought said building, it was a nasty surprise, but I couldn't help but notice the mention of Lloyd's of London. My insurance agent, who does a very nice job of finding me good value, switched us to Lloyd's of London 2 years ago, and our rate reduced significantly. I'm not suggesting that we opt out of this program. I'm just letting other building owners know that you might want to explore everybody, including Lloyd's of London. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
He cut our premium about in half. Because I have a mortgage, so I have to have flood insurance.
Well, I think if the last two floods taught us anything, it's that going without it for us would have been devastating. I'll entertain a motion for ordinance 22-7 for the flood ordinance.
I'll support.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Sue?
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Groves,
Yes.
Mayor DeVore,
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl,
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic.
Yes.
All right, any questions, comments, concerns about any of the budget or monthly reporting?
I was going to comment on the budget. The current budget we're in, I haven't seen anything really irregular as of yet. It's still a little too early to tell in my opinion. However, I have basically given the directive to my department heads that you buy what you need with inflation is we're not just buying things to buy things. I know I've just been kind of preaching that because with the inflationary costs, we just got to be mindful of that. So I've been watching that quite a bit. And I also telling the department heads for next year, only very essential capital purchases because we just don't know what's going to happen. So, so there's that. The good news, a couple of good news points. We are in the process of getting ready for our audit, and Sue and I review all of the revenues and expenditures from the previous year. The good news is we anticipate about another $100,000 to the good revenues over expenditures for the general fund this year. So that's good. Also, I'm starting to just kind of do some calculations what possible revenues from the marijuana excise tax. My calculations show, and they're very based off the state sales reports is what I'm going off of. I'm looking at it at possibly about $345,000 in excise tax to the city. We projected $200,000 in the budget. So between that and the general fund transfer, if things go that way, we're looking at about a $500,000 we can put into local streets, meaning next year we already have Grindle plan to be done. We might be able to knock out a couple more street segments like we did this year. So that's, we'll keep an eye on that, but I'm starting to watch that now because the state fiscal year just ended and I'm trying to just be mindful of it. So that's all I had on the budget reports.
And doing that and doing a couple more streets chips away at the streets we have left to
Correct.
get more
Yeah.
done.
And I'm probably, and what I tend to do with these, when I have those, is maybe not move a street and the street plan up, but I may take like a segment of a streets that, we might be able to knock out that are near it, so it saves construction costs. So we can, let's say for example, the one I'm thinking about is Shepherd, is if we can do it, I'd like, if the money comes in the way we project, I'd like to knock out maybe Shepherd next year. So.
Any other questions, discussion, comments, concerns? Board and commission reports, Leah?
Parks and Rec, we sat down and started reviewing our surveys and our focus group data. So we're all kind of just taking a breather, looking over the information, and we'll report back.
Well, we discussed ours tonight about getting the master plan brought up to date at Planning Commission. Like I said, it's going to be very intense and very involved, but I think the board that sits there now is well up to the task.
Even the changes guy?
Not him.
Just the rest. Jim?
I had several meetings. The first one was the Arbor Board. 7 a.m. comes pretty early on Monday morning to attend that, but we had enough for a quorum. One of the big topics came up was possible tree removal on Bowles Road due to the power lines. I think we definitely have to look at that part of it and what does that look like over time. Ryan was there from Lowell Power discussing the reasons why. I think we got a tough choice ahead of us because I went down and looked at that. Even if we remove the trees, we talked about can you offset those trees, maybe not on the right of way, but off of it. There's really not a whole lot of room due to all the other evergreen trees, etc. So Dan and I, we talked about some trees that maybe don't grow as tall and stuff like that. So we got some work to do that to keep the residents over there happy as we look at removing some trees potentially. I had my Lowell Power Board meeting. They also had their audit done and they passed with flying colors. So hats off to Charlie and his group. They'll be bringing us some information down the road on that. One thing that they're continually watching is the purchase power costs. As you all aware, I'm on the consumer energy for gas and we pay monthly every year and mine went from $142 a month to $230 something. That's what they're figuring the increase will be just to heat my house this winter. So keep that in mind, and Low Line Power faces those things when they buy purchase power that's gas generated. It all goes up, and we all feel the pinch on that. They're still running over 99.9% always power on, so hats off to the guys that keep the trees down and squirrels out of the area and do the things that they do good over there. And the other meeting I got coming up in December is the LCTV fund. That'll be coming up early November, or December. We'll have our first meeting, and we'll be looking forward to that. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Cliff?
Laura, Dave Austin brought us up to date, slow but steady progress on phase 2. It's never happened before, but the requirements from the state and the feds are slightly changing, so he's trying to do his best to keep that up to date. And also I'd like to thank people for helping Laura honor Betsy Davidson. There was an article in the Ledger and some things done online, and the donations came in. I'm happy to say there were 3 in an envelope in my city box from people in the Lowell area. So appreciate that very much.
Awesome, thank you. We did Fire Authority last Thursday, our first meeting since July. We did our audit as well, got the highest redevelopment Hafner rating there. We will be scheduling our 2024 budget here coming up, and the Chief's annual review. Fire engine's been delayed. Latest update is you'll get it when you get it.
Sounds like our police.
It was
At least
supposed to
the
be
price
here.
is locked in.
Yeah, yep. It was supposed to be here in August, so. That's all I have for that. Mike, city manager's report.
Yeah, a couple items. As you know, we had the special meeting with Lowell Power before this meeting. The line check resolution was prepared. The first day of public inspection was last Friday. So the 20-day period will be passed at our November 7th city council meeting, so you can take action on it then if you wish to. The transfer agreement for the showboat has been presented to Lowell Showboat 6 for their review, so they're doing that currently. Today, the Joint Water Advisory Committee met with Lowell Township. We'll provide an update at the next council meeting regarding that. BLDI informed me last week that the Moose property, they should be doing the additional testing out there this week, weather permitting, but they let me know that last week. The fair request, they were supposed to come tonight to talk about their request to extend their lease. They couldn't make it tonight, so they do plan on being at the next council meeting. DPW, salt trucks are ready to go tonight if needed, so. Just tell them, they're ready to go.
Do we have salt?
Yes,
Okay.
in the truck already, ready to go.
They're ready to go, so hopefully, we'll see what happens. Also, one last thing, last 2 weeks, last 2 Thursdays and Fridays, the police department has been doing training, active shooter training with police, and they've also been bringing the fire and Rockford ambulance into the training just to train for that situation, and hopefully it's something we never have to deal with. I did help participate as a victim and a shooter one day, I can just tell you the training that they go through for this is a lot different than what I did when I worked the road 13 years ago. So that's all I have.
All right.
Just wanted to let you know, Mike, we were going to discuss the title, but unfortunately we didn't have a quorum. Everybody has the offer, but again, I thought it was moved to 4 o'clock, and they never told me it was back at 2, so I was the reason we didn't have a quorum.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
What was his name again?
Mr. President.
All right, under appointments, we did have a resignation on the DDA, so we have a vacancy there, but Mr. Bark has put his application in, so I'm happy to make that appointment if there's no objection.
None?
None, I've been trying to get him on the board for quite a while now, so.
He's only doing it for the pay, probably.
Yeah, and you gotta sit by Lori, so
Do they still get lunches?
They're starting again this month.
Yeah.
Next time they meet, they will start getting lunches again.
So Eric, if you can get with Sue after and just get on the email list for PDA packets and stuff like that, that'd be awesome. And thank you for applying.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Cliff, council comments.
I have nothing.
Jim,
I'm good tonight, thank
Marty,
you.
I'm good.
Leah.
I'm also good.
Well, since we don't have another meeting, I'll encourage everybody to do your research and then vote.
We do have
We do have a meeting before the.
I thought it was
it's on the
third.
8th.
Oh, it's on the 8th?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, well, never mind, still vote, I guess. Now I just don't have to say it next time. Jim,
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:13.
Or
motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, or adjourned.